Everyone makes mistakes. It's one of the most simple, fundamental facts of life. If you have a human doing something, chances are that at some point they'll slip up. As such, comics are no stranger to the occasional goof. There's countless internet forums, and we here at What Culture Comics will tell you in profound amounts of detail. And while mistakes are often considered a bad thing, not all of them have to be. For example, some comic mistakes, such as accidentally referencing Superman in a Marvel issue, or unknowingly breaking the spine of a character, can often make for a comic that is far more memorable than it would have been otherwise. You can argue that these moments ruin your immersion or decrease the quality of what you're reading, but at the end of the day, a laugh when you least expect it is what you need, and these beautiful blunders should be given the credit they deserve for lightening countless people's days, specifically mine, for doing this video. Ranging between the petty, the silly, and the downright unimaginable, here's a reminder that there are truly no genuine mistakes in life, just happy little accidents. So, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 10 hilarious comic book mistakes you won't believe were published. Number 10. Marvel steals a DC kiss. Marvel Comics 1000, the variant cover. With the unveiling of Marvel Comics 1000, several variant covers were naturally commissioned, with perhaps the most exciting of them all being a variant that was filled to the brim with some of the most iconic and eye-catching art that's been produced in the House of Ideas' 80-year run. Unfortunately, one of these pictures was not like the others, as the two men kissing on the comic's initial cover are Alan Scott, a Green Lantern, and his partner Sam. As a Green Lantern, Scott is naturally a DC character, meaning that more than a couple eyebrows were raised when he appeared front and center on a Marvel comic. After many tweeted their confusion about the situation, the creator of the cover responded, apologizing and stating that he'd mistakenly believed the pair were Marvel characters. The mistake was then fixed, with further copies replacing the pair with Northstar and his husband kissing instead. Number 9. The broke back pose. Various. Having female characters in alluring poses has long been a tradition in the comics medium, and there's nothing wrong with it for the most part, so long as it doesn't go too far. Too far being epitomized by the broken back pose, where characters are contorted into positions that would clearly break the spine of anyone who tried them. Look, I'll show you, okay? Right. See, they're less sexy and more ridiculous, and yet, time and time again, artists decide to forego their ability to draw people in proportion in order to cram maximum amount boobs and butt into one space, despite the fact that this is still achievable without using unnatural and vaguely concerning poses. I'm gonna get this looked at. But hey, before I do, while it's no crime to spice up a comic with a saucy pose or two, there's no reason why these have to be so over-exaggerated that even contortionists, and also me, say it would be impossible for them to replicate. Number 8. Superman's surprise appearance. Amazing Spider-Man number 3. One of the earlier mistakes to have been made during Marvel's bullpen era, Amazing Spider-Man number 3 saw Dr. Octopus refer to Spider-Man by a completely different superhero's name, calling him Superman, despite the fact that Superman is a totally different character, obviously owned by a totally different company. Although fans initially excused this as Doc merely calling Spider-Man superhuman, Stan Lee would trash this argument years later when he personally admitted in the Marvel No Prize book that he'd accidentally referred to the Man of Steel instead of his own hero. Lee's admission of guilt makes the whole thing oddly charming, as it shows that years down the line, with an enormous amount of wealth and prestige, he was still capable of looking back at his early mistakes and laughing at himself, as indeed we all should be able to. Just don't go looking at my first few videos for the channel. Please don't. Please, you'll have a bad time. Number 7. Professor Xavier's name drop. X-Men number 17. Early comics clearly didn't intend for Professor X to be considered as smart as he is now, as X-Men number 17 saw Xavier simultaneously warn Hank McCoy to not take off his mask and reveal his identity, while referring to him by name, completely ruining his secret identity. Justifiably, it's not the world's worst mistake, but the fact that these two sentences are said literally one after another makes it unavoidable to spot, and thus incredibly difficult to not think about for the rest of the issue. Now, to be fair, with the first 20 or so issues of the X-Men, the pressures must have been really on to produce comics as quickly as possible in order to see if they do well. So the reason slightly clunky dialogue like this exists is readily apparent. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't make the Professor look like the world's biggest hypocrite of all time. Number 6. Harley's unhinged jaw. New Suicide Squad number 3. Less a total mistake and more a questionable decision in regards to perspective, Suicide Squad number 3 sees Harley Quinn slam the Joker's daughter into a wall, mouth open as she screams in fury at the woman who idolizes her abuser. Unfortunately, the angle of her arm blocks the bottom of her mouth, meaning that it looks as though Quinn has unhinged her jaw inhumanely wide in order to shout at and possibly eat her rival, just like your boy Imhotep did in The Mummy. Tragically, the actual pose and proportions appear to be drawn completely correctly, making the effect an entirely unlucky coincidence. This said, the panel is perhaps the scariest we've ever seen Harley look, so perhaps this is an interesting way to diversify the otherwise cute and cheery character, so long as you don't mind her being nightmare fuel instead. Number 5, Batman loses his shirt. Suicide Squad number 13. An entirely easy to make coloring error, Suicide Squad number 13 saw Batman seemingly lose his shirt for one panel, with his torso being colored the same as the skin tone of his legs. While this is a simple mistake, it's also an undeniably hilarious one, as it makes it appear as though the Dark Knight decided to just stick the Bat logo on his bare chest as his costume instead, making his outfit a pair of Speedos, a cape, and a cowl. Although this would maybe pass as the beach edition of his uniform, this scene takes place in a prison, meaning that Wayne's decision to strip off a layer seems somewhat less appropriate. The panel is also a solid reminder that errors involving anything skin-toned are often the most unfortunate, as unlike any other coloring mishaps, they're impossible not to notice, and then impossible to unsee. Number 4, Captain America Gives Up. Tales of Suspense number 93. Tales of Suspense is a perfect comic to show people what the original Captain America comics were like. Slightly cheesy, slightly bizarre, but all in all, a whole lot of fun. The only slight issue with showing someone who doesn't know about Captain America this comic is that it would lead them to consider him a huge pessimist. Why? Well, when the hero gets to this final bit of trash talk before taking down the villain, he states only one of us is gonna walk out of here under his own steam, and it won't be me. Clearly the line was supposed to be, and it won't be you, but the version that ended up being printed is significantly funnier, as it implies that America's hero gave up halfway through his own trash talk. Number 3, All-Star Batman's swearing problem. All-Star Batman and Robin, the boy wonder. Were you to pick up a copy of All-Star Batman and Robin today, presumably to laugh at it, the swearing in it would be completely obscured, with all the scandalous words covered with the classic black bar of censorship. However, on the first print of the comic, the censored words were in grey text instead of black, meaning you could perfectly see the words intended to be illegible. Although having some naughty words in the comic hardly seems as controversial as some of the other events that take place in All-Star Batman, DC is adamant that the Dark Knight not swear in order to not ruin his reputation as a semi-child-friendly character. This meant that the error was taken pretty seriously, and instead of laughing the whole thing off, the comic was actually recalled, with the new censored version being the one you'll now find on the shelves of your local comic book store. Bit weird they censored that, and not the bit where Batman forces Dick Grayson to eat a No, I said I wouldn't get into this. I said I promised, I'm fine, you're fine, everything's fine. Why you ask? Why are you asking? I'm not saying. Number 2, the world's weirdest bathroom. Batgirl and the Birds of Prey number 5. Possibly a purposeful visual gag, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey number 5 brought us the single most confusing bathroom of all time. As you probably spotted straight away, the room has a door blocked by not only an entire bathtub, but also a toilet plunger. While fans have suggested that this isn't the door into the toilet, but rather a separate room coming from it, this raises only more questions. Why would you get to a room that you can only get to by getting through the bathroom? What would lead someone to create a room and then block it almost entirely with a bath? Who buys toilet paper the exact same color as their bathroom furnishings? All burning questions that we will never get the answer to, presumably. It is also, of course, worth addressing that this is a tiny flaw, and one that really has no effect on the overall quality of the comic whatsoever. But people who have seen this panel, both comic fans and folks who haven't touched one, grew absolutely fascinated with it after the comic came out, meaning it's likely one of the first things people think of when they think of funny comic mistakes. And number 1, Grim Reaper's Mystery Hand, Avengers number 160. As the Grim Reaper is not the most iconic of Marvel villains, there are likely many who could look at this panel of him pulling his mask back on with both hands and see absolutely nothing wrong with it. However, this is perhaps one of the worst mistakes made in a published comic, as it forgets one crucial fact, that the Grim Reaper doesn't actually have a right hand, having had it amputated before his rise to villainy. While it would be one thing just to forget a missing hand, Williams actually has a huge metal scythe where said right hand hands should be, meaning that the creators of the comic must just somehow forget the huge, obvious weapon's existence, despite the fact it appears in both the panel before this and the panel immediately afterwards. And that was our list on the 10 most hilarious comic book mistakes ever published. Do you have any other examples to share? Please let me know down in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Special shout out to Zoe for curating such a wonderful list of misprints, so be sure to follow her on Twitter at ZenMaskel. And if you're feeling particularly sympathetic to the man who read her words, follow me on Twitter at UNRuinsThings. Until next time, however, have a great day, keep supporting your local comic book store, and I'll see you next time. Bye!